Hey guys, this is the Deej with the Pipe Podcast with me and my man Crispin Cruz. And stick around today, big show. We got a great guest, and we're going to learn all about how to get leads, how to get customers, and how to get better looking. Let's say, for instance, in all honesty, let's say, for instance, you're a house cleaner, and you want to get more customers in the house cleaning. You want to clean more houses. You got to make sure that you're going in the right neighborhood. There are certain neighborhoods that hire house cleaners, and there are certain neighborhoods that they don't even mow their lawns. So why are you even going there?
Fair enough,
right? And so Kevin is like very particular at figuring out how to find the right neighborhoods in order for you to prospect in the right place. And Kevin, my man, welcome to the Pipe Podcast. And how do you do that?
I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I would say to that point, like I think, list building is so critical. I just talked about this on a podcast episode about vertical targeting. And so if you can script your language on the phone and you can script your email that you do work for a specific niche, like let's say in your case, software, SaaS, that makes a huge difference in their willingness to respond to you because you're an expert in that space. So building a list around those things makes a huge difference. Segmentation, riches and niches, as you might say, right?
Yeah. Well, now how do you do that? Like, how do you find?
Well, obviously I'm not an originator of data source, right? You have your Zoom info, your Apollos, that kind of stuff. So you're building using a combination of all these criteria. So company criteria and people criteria to build a targeted list of people. So if you want to hit just C-level executives, or you want to hit sales division or HR or whatever it is, you combine those titles with the size of the company, the number of employees, annual revenue, so on and so forth. And that's how you build that targeted list. Geography, of course, you can do that.
I got to jump in here for a second, Dan, because, when we're servicing clients of our own, Kevin, a lot of times they say, well, we need marketing initiative. We need you to help us with lists and, who do we contact? Who do we go after? Right. And we can kind of point them in the right direction, but that's not what we do. Like Sales Arbiter, we stay in that sales silo and we only help companies with, their sales initiative, or we help them find sales leadership. And we install those people, those sales reps, and get them going and put in foundational process and things like that. But what you do is so critical because that's the starting point for any, in my opinion, any organic sales push that you're going to have with your organization, is going to have to start with the leads, right?
You gotta have the data. The data is absolutely critical. And the old days, like you guys know, experienced like me, certainly the old days of like building that prospect list of company centric only with phone numbers and getting to the gatekeeper and finding out who the decision maker is, all that stuff. Now we're beyond that, right? Data 2.0 is you've got to have the contact names. And it's so helpful because when you get to that phone tree now, and you get to the name, so you have the name you want to get to. Now, post-COVID, what's really interesting is they'll go through the phone tree and it'll ring right to their cell phone because so many people are off site that's actually the real magic now on the phone in for our experience is that we literally will go through the phone tree and it'll ring their cell phone. Still have to leave a voicemail a lot of times and then send that cold email, but it helps tremendously. If you didn't have names and titles, you would be, I don't know, very, very hard to do these days. Very difficult to do.
Yeah, I want to dig into that process a little bit. Remember, the Pipe Podcast, one of the items is process. So let me ask you, like, what do you recommend for when people are going out and really doing this cold prospecting? They're trying to grow their business organically. You just said a couple things that maybe the listeners missed, but I heard because I always have my listening.
You got it.
So you talked about using the call as one element, working through the phone tree, possibly leaving a message, then following up with an email. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, multi-channel. So at K2, we call it modern prospecting is the terminology we use, but it's multi-channel. So the old days of pick up the phone, get the gatekeeper, find out who the decision maker is, and all that stuff. Really, pre-COVID, that was getting harder and harder, because what's so interesting, and you work with some of these companies in certain spaces, new businesses are not even registering phone numbers, right? They literally, some of these software companies, the really techie people, and I would say digital marketing firms too, they are very Slack and text oriented and internal, but they don't even have phone numbers in some cases. So you don't even have a company phone number. So it's very important that you build everything by getting that prospect list with the name, and then your process is do the outreach by name. So you call, you go through maybe a phone tree, maybe you get a receptionist and you go to that person. It may ring to their cell offsite, it may not. You leave a voicemail if you have to, but then that has to come with another channel. So then you send that cold email right behind leaving that voicemail. And you might even, and this is a little secret we use here, we look at them on LinkedIn so that they notice that somebody looked at them. You don't even have to message them, and then they will connect who you were between the voicemail, the email, and that. They'll see you're professional, they'll see you're viable, and that has a huge impact on their willingness to respond. And 50% of leads now that we're getting are in response to the email, 50%.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Or as we say in our world, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But that's important. And that also it keys in the importance of social media and branding yourself, even the individual salesperson.
Yes.
Out there, because once they get the phone call and then they get another email and they check you out, like I say, it's one thing if they find out you're an axe murderer, that's not good, but even worse is if they find nothing.
Yes, absolutely correct.
Yeah,
right.
Well, of course, I'm absolutely correct.
Profiles is a lot of that is just having the baseline. If they search for you, those things come up rather than the wrong things or nothing.
Yes.
Right? That's a big part of it. Like, you have as much content probably of all the people I've ever known in sales. You have more content than anybody I know, right? I think there's one other guy, Chris Del Torrio of Velocity. That's the only other person that does content like you.
Right, but who's the best looking?
Oh, you.
Okay. But
all right. Okay, here's the hard part. I won't even go there.
Here's something you need to.
Sorry, Chris. I had to.
It's okay.
I put on the show. I couldn't care less. The thing about, I'll tell you about content, which is very important, that everybody needs to remember this. Doesn't all need to be good. I was reading once the Far Side.
Yeah.
Everybody has their favorite Far Side cartoon.
Sure.
Gary Larson, and he's brilliant. He's a genius. I once bought a Gary Larson book. About 30% of them are good. The rest aren't, but you think he's a genius because he's got so many of these things going. So man, you just got to put stuff out there. People want to know that you're the real deal because you're alive. So everything works in tandem together.
Kevin, I'll tell you what's sad. What's sad is that we're not going to be able to put this on LinkedIn because, I'm still seeing that LinkedIn, the LinkedIn post of cold calling is dead. I love that. Like, I loved it pre-COVID. I loved it during COVID. I love it now because I'm telling you, that was like that has helped us grow our, sales consulting business tenfold. Because if there's other companies out there that are not cold calling, not prospecting, not doing those things, that's actually to our benefit. Because I love what you said about the phone tree and it ringing like directly to the potential, contact or the potential prospect that you're trying to get to. I mean, that's what we have figured out during this whole, COVID, 19. Yeah. Is that we have actually gotten to the decision maker. Now, not a lot of times they say, we're not interested or whatever, or
right, sure.
Not ready, or, we're getting no's, but we're getting to the person that typically would make the decision for that organization.
So go back to the quote, because I've talked about this with my people in the past, the quote that cold calling is dead. So have you guys ever heard the quote, I forget who wrote this at one time, that believing is seeing is believing?
Yes, yes.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. I hear that all the time from people and from reps, and it's because they don't want to me, and you guys, I think, know better than I do. It's because they just don't want to do it. So they want to believe it because they don't want to do it.
Oh, say it again. Please say it again.
Well, the hardest thing.
Wait, let him say it again. Let him say it again.
Wait, say what?
Say that one more time. Because they don't want to.
Yeah, they don't want to do it. But part of it is because, to me, working with founders, and you, I think you guys as a group work with more mature companies than I do. I work with a lot of startups and very young companies, and building that BDR base from scratch, right, and doing the work for them because they're not there yet. They are, as institutions, is software and many other industries, they are afraid to make calls. They're not even into sales, right? For the most part, that's not their thing. Then you take that, that bleeds into the way that they teach their people internally. The way they work when they first hire is they're so tech oriented. They don't even have a phone number to anyone to call. Gosh, if they have live chat, it's a miracle sometimes, but they have live chat and they have email and they do ticketing. They don't want anybody to call them, right? That's the way their mindset works. So in this modern era, and it's affected by a lot of things, that infuses or that bleeds right into their salespeople that they do hire and their reps. Like they just, everything needs to be inbound from their point of view, the way they think in a lot of cases.
It's not young company. It's not medium-sized company. It's not, Fortune 100 or Fortune 50 company. I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you, Kevin, it's every company. No salesperson likes to prospect. They all want to have it dished up to them, warm leads. All right.
Of course, any salesperson. I love inbound leads for my company. You love inbound leads for your company. I mean, I think Dan and maybe one other in my career in, 6 years since I got out of real estate, I think Dan and I've got maybe one other two in my head that like really enjoy to a degree cold calling, like literally love doing that. I don't necessarily I can't say that I enjoy it. It's part of what you have to do as a practice to be able to teach it. Is probably more than anything what I believe.
I have to have you come into some of the companies that we serve so you can say exactly that.
Well, or we can get you to do it for them.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, I love it from the standpoint that, again, we're very heavily now based in the Philippines. I have to be honest. I don't know if you guys know that. So my reps are very heavily for clients based in the Philippines, and it truly is just a cost factor, and the talent level is so high. But that said, when it's like Chris, when I wanted to say cold calling, anybody that says cold calling doesn't work. I mean, Dan is perfect example, but I literally made 6 calls yesterday. I got 2 leads, one of which we're ready to sign as a client today.
Say it again. Say that one.
I made 6 calls and I got 2 guys. I got 3 guys. I got 2 leads and I got 1 that's ready to sign today.
I wish you could see. I wish you could see. You can't see it on the podcast, of course. I have goosebumps. I mean, that's the stuff that magic is made of. I'm telling you, do the right. And we talk about this all the time. We talked about it this morning, Dan and I, when we were together. Do the right behaviors, right? If you have the right behavior, then that's going to lead to production, and a certain amount of production is going to lead to sales. I mean,
my quote is activity breeds business.
That's it.
Activity breeds business. If you reach out and tell people what you have, you say, hey, would this help you? I mean, the guy who did the big thing with the roofing guys and was supposed to do this big demonstration, I think, Dan, we talked about this one time, did this huge auditorium of all these roofing guys. He was going to do this huge sales presentation. And he came out and it was a joke. He knocked on the door, the faux door on the stage. And he said, ma'am, my name's John with John's Roofing. Do you want a quote on a roof? And that was it. And he stopped and they flipped the lights on and that's all it is.
That's
like, I reach out to somebody, people reach out to somebody. Hey, do you need help prospecting in the early stage of your company?
Yep. It's beautiful.
That's all it is.
Well, so let me ask you this. You have, people in the Philippines making calls, and they're setting appointments, I take it.
I would say, so that's an interesting topic. We don't have to go off the deep end. I would say that they are, first of all, we generate leads. Second call-ins is to then try to get to book an appointment. A lot of times it's emailing the link to book an appointment to the prospect so they can schedule on their time. Okay. Some will book with the rep on the phone.
Okay. But does this work best with B2B or B2C type of companies? Is it roofing companies calling individuals, or software companies
Oh,
calling
no,
other businesses?
ideal strictly in B2B. I mean, we can help companies formulate scripts and do those kinds of things on a consulting basis for B2C, but I don't deal in it normally, no.
So a software company who needs to sell their software to other enterprise level accounts or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ideal, honestly, mostly in what I would call high growth, early stage companies. Also, I talked about this on a podcast episode, as well as having sales collateral and visual representations of things to send by email makes things easier. I love video companies. My favorite category to work for is animated video animation companies, drone video companies. I love that stuff.
Really?
Yes, because it's visual. The visual representation makes it so much easier, honestly, to get them excited. And video with music and the emotion it's just one of my favorite things, personal. So that's why we drive that direction a lot.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
All right. So how and you get your clients same way by calling in the whole method.
Vertical targeting. So we target that for those verticals very, very heavily. And then by referral and word of mouth, people come to us from, again, posts on LinkedIn. Sometimes they'll reach out to me, whatever. It just depends on the company. Find us online, search.
Well, give us an example. Tell me a story about a particular company that was having trouble that you may have turned around or set on the right path.
Just elementary stuff. I just had one not that long ago. They were building their prospect. They were a kind of a little bit digital marketing agency, but they were building their prospect list using what I would say antiquated database. I'm not going to name the name because I use it as well occasionally for certain things, but they were building it all company centric with no people. And I completely reversed the way they were thinking about it. I was like, guys, we gotta be in the next century here. Mm-hmm. We need people data. You're trying to get to these specific people in the marketing department, and their belief system is they wanted to go from marketing person up. Although sometimes, like in your guys' case, you might work from CEO down. Sometimes they might refer you into their VP of sales or maybe a CSO or something like that, right?
That's great. That's right.
This company wanted to target the marketing people first, get them excited about what they had, because what they were doing, the marketing people wouldn't do, and then start there because you could connect more often and work your way up to CEO or principal or founder that needed to make a buying decision. And they didn't have that. They didn't have any of the data. They had this list of companies with websites and some phone numbers. That's all they had. Not really that hard. I have to be honest. It's pretty simple in that case.
Are they still with you?
Yeah. We've got one rep for them, but they're going to build their own sales team. They're going to build their own sales team little by little. They got one that had already started, but little by little, they'll build their sales team. And again, digital marketing can only scale so much because it's a very human driven business. There's a lot of human power that goes behind that work. So those companies only can scale so much typically.
Really? But
I would say
it seems like they could do some. You think because it's a creative type of industry?
It's like video that we deal with. It's very creative, but also the replication and management of digital marketing is account managers, like companies that own the people that own those companies are usually still somewhat involved or very involved in management of client accounts in certain cases, whether it's AdWords or SEO or whatever it is. They've got their hands on it. So typically their account managers with help with those things, they can only replicate that so much. I mean, some have got the formula down and know how to scale infinitely, but it's not an easy thing to scale, I don't think.
Right. It's interesting.
Software is much easier to scale because it's all based, once they've coded the software, you can sell it 1,000,000 times over, right? It's like selling printing in the old days, right? You turn on the machine, you can print as much as you want.
So how much? Yeah, it's like what the government does with the money supply.
Right.
So I finally got you to smile. He's been two-timing us with other podcasts all day long. You hear him, Crispin Cruz?
Yeah, that's okay.
And by the way, Crispin Cruz, when you said we work with companies that want new initiatives, let me tell you something. The only person that says initiatives is you. Nobody says really? Initiatives.
Okay,
people want more customers.
Good. That makes me unique. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Well, no, it makes you a eunuch. All right. So, Kevin, Let me ask you this, because you said something that just piqued my interest regarding digital marketing companies, that it's tough for them to scale. At what point, like, and this is important for companies because they think they have to get so many leads and things. How many customers can they have before they're kind of overwhelmed and they can't do it? In your experience? And I'm not going to hold you
it's
to
hard for me to put a number on it. So we're going to talk about this, and then some big digital marketing firm's going to, blast us on the
They're blasting us right now in the comments.
Right, probably.
You're allowed to be wrong.
I would say, as a general rule, like, it just depends on how many they have and how they can scale the management of clients and the production that they do.
Right.
So, I mean, small boutique agencies might only have, 20, 30, 40 clients, and then some scale and they learn how to scale and build it, but it's not what I would call easy. I think it's a relatively tough, anytime it would be like you guys are consultants, right? So it would be like trying to replicate you and Crispin. How far can you do that, do you think?
Right. That's exactly right. So the point is, I'm saying you can make a real good living, have a real nice business with 50 accounts.
Absolutely.
50 accounts. People have these visions of grandeur, of these giant things of thousands and thousands of customers. Man, pay attention to the clients you have, for those referrals that you get from them, and you could build a great initiative.
Initiative.
I mean, business.
That's true of me. I mean, at our agency, I mean, if I have active clients, if I have 25, we're very, very busy.
You don't know what you're going to do with yourself. That's exactly right.
I mean, we're almost there, but it's very busy. Very busy.
The same way.
That's great. Hey, I want to, as we kind of close this down, Kevin, I'd like to just ask you, what do you think are a few or a couple of the most important, elements for companies, especially when they're just starting up or they've gotten to a point to where they want to get to that next level? What do you see on your side of the fence that can kind of help them and say, hey, you guys better be focusing on A, B, and C?
No, so I just talked about this with a digital marketing firm, ironically enough, is the order, because they talk about with their clients. So we're talking about the same thing. And I said, someday I got to talk with Dan, Jordan, and a couple other guys in sales about this. So at what point, what are the things you scale first in a business, right? So first thing is you have to, some people think backwards. They think they need to be able to advertise or market and scale that before anything else. And it's the reverse to me. I want them to be able to scale production or fulfillment first, sales second, marketing, advertising is third, right? Because if you can't reproduce what you're selling, then there's no point in adding more salespeople or doing more marketing, right? So you have to be able to scale that first. So get your systems down to produce effectively what you do, whatever that fulfillment is, product or service. Next step, now, what's your sales process? Be able to replicate that to add, and you've got inbound leads, let's say. And then your final stage is your marketing advertising, which is increasing your inbound and then adding your outbound.
Yeah, that's gold right there, baby. That's gold.
So how do people get a hold of you?
Oh, just k2sr.com. Pretty simple. Go to the website, you can email, book a Calendly. I always love Calendly, right?
K2sr.com.
Right? K2 sales rep.
Calendly was started right here in Atlanta at the Atlanta Tech Village, and they're a unicorn. They're $1 billion company started right here. A couple of guys, really simple.
Yep. Software is amazing. You guys deal with it more than I do. Software is an amazing thing these days. What we can do is just absolutely.
Well, I think you're amazing. Chris Cruz is horrible.
He's absolutely right.
Oh God.
Hey, thanks so much for spending time with us today.
Appreciate it, guys.
You're the best.
I appreciate it.